Good morning and welcome to this week's episode or edition of Monday Motivation. And given the current news at the time of recording this, I've decided to talk a little bit about navigating tough times. So if you or somebody that you know are navigating tough times, I hope that this serves to almost act as a Monday message and a bit of motivation, which today feels like the wrong word to use given the example that I'm going to share. So first of all, if you're watching live, thank you so much for watching live, and if you, like Alan, want to say hello, want to add any thoughts or comments, do type them in the box below. If you're watching this on the replay, that's also fine too. I see the comments that come up sometimes over the week on the replays of this. So good morning, Alan. Good morning, Ivona. Good morning, everyone else who's watching. So I'm sure that it hasn't escaped many of you, even if you're not a watching the news type person, that it was announced in the wee hours of this morning that Thomas Cook has ceased trading. And I have to say, I feel quite emotional about it. And here's why. I worked for them for a decade. I worked for them in their call centre, Thomas Cook Direct. Good morning, Tara. I also then did a stint overseas and worked in places like Morocco, like Turkey for a few seasons, and in between all of that did the ski seasons and also worked in France, in Austria, and did some cover in Italy and all sorts of places. Had a really fun time. And then when I came back from working abroad, I then went back into their customer service department. And I felt that it'd be really remiss of me, given very positive experiences I had of working with Thomas Cook's, to not mention what is going on in the world. And one of the things that I still have a lot of friends that work there. For a time of my life, I lived in Peterborough, which is where their head office is based. I have very positive experiences of the company. So what I wanted to do, because I know a lot of people are really going through it, both the staff, the management, and also their passengers, and some of their guests who are still currently abroad. And what I would like to do is to take the heat out of the situation, not to degrade or anything that anyone is going through, whether you're employed by them or whether you are a customer or client of them. But what I did want to do was help with the emotions that are going on. You can imagine in the last few days, and especially in the last 24 to 48 hours, I have, heard so many different angles, different stories, things from anger. Why do the bosses get paid this, that kind of thing. And so what I wanted to really share today, and I feel a little bit today like I did. I know this is a weird comparison. I feel a little bit today like I did with the whole Brexit piece. We wake up hoping for the best and fearing the worst. So what I wanted to share today was some things to do in troubled times, in times of trouble, because I'm seeing a lot of different emotions play out. I'm seeing a lot of different behaviours play out, and some of those will serve and some of those won't. So let me just crack straight onto some of my tips on how to navigate tough times. So the first thing that I want to say is, of course, this will be to some a story, a news story, and already I've seen, how the press have been reporting about the detail. So let's kind of keep this on a kind of a chunked up basis. Sometimes other people will be interested in the details of what's going on, what's really going on. Sometimes it might be the press, sometimes it might be, if it's your personal circumstances, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be people with opinions. So the first thing that I want to say is, in any given tough situation, there will always be an element of drama that somebody feels that they need to play out of or play into. And I would say use your discernment, be astute, and look at where drama is. If somebody is comforting you, or berating you, or giving you any kind of external help, advice, information, or anything else, strip back any of the drama, because when there is something that's going on, it will be tough for a number of people. It'll be tough for you, it'll be tough for the people around them. Strip back the drama. This is just as relevant, this message, as if somebody receives news of an illness, somebody receives news of, it could be a relationship, somebody receives news, financial news. It can be just as relevant for all of those life happenings. So the first thing to do is look out for the drama and strip the drama out of it, because it won't serve you. What it will normally do is kind of like ride you on a crest of some sort of wave, and at some point you'll feel like you've then just been dropped in somewhere. So have a look at what's going on, use your discernment, and take out any drama, any dramatics. It will really serve. Second thing that I want to say, I've just missed your comment, Ian. And again, I come to the screen without my glasses. Yeah, absolutely. Ian's saying yes, it is a sad day. I've already tweeted it is a sad day, for both employees and holidaymakers. And you know what? Even though it seems like a big thing, this is a kind of example of when I was kind of preparing for this, the reflection of the drama of it all. You know that there are lots of companies out there. There are lots of organisations out there. There's lots of authorities out there who have got the passengers at heart, and they will be looked after. They will be looked after. With the drama and the dramatics that's going around in the press, specifically with the Thomas Cook situation, it actually makes it really tricky for the people that can help to help, because now they're hearing stories of this, stories of that. This is going to happen, that's going to happen. And people will go into panic mode. And I have this on first-hand experience. As I say, I worked overseas, and I also worked in the customer service, part of my journey was the customer service part. And quite often when drama gets involved, it's very hard to help somebody. So when you're going through a tough time, and I know there's some of you that are watching on here. Thank you for the stars, Sam. I know that some of you watching on here have had health concerns, family health concerns, pet health concerns. Just think about your specific situation. When people are kind of throwing those dramatics in, it will affect you. We're human beings after all. It will affect you, and it will. What it does is it detracts from the clarity that you can have to focus on what needs to happen or what needs to be done or not, so that you can move ahead and move forward. So that's the first thing, the drama. The second thing that I wanted to talk about, there is the emotion, and it's interesting because this will not be too dissimilar, and of course there's going to be thousands of staff going through this today. Something called the bell curve, and I did talk about this when Brexit was announced as well. People assume that they themselves or the other people will be going through one type of emotion, when in fact your emotions will be changing minute by minute. So something just to look out for in yourself, and this is not to stop an emotion or try and grab a certain emotion. I don't want anybody out there who's been affected by any tough time to throw a smiley face on. This is not a time for the whole think positively. You will be going through all sorts of emotions. For some of you, surprisingly to yourself, it might be a sense of relief. It's over. For some of you, it might be a sense of guilt. You feel like you've done something to participate in this. For some people, it might be a sense of shame. Shame, it could be on what others think about the situation, how they feel about the situation. For some, it will be anger. Some people, it will be anger. Those are just a couple of the emotions that you will go through. There'll be denial. This isn't really happening. Oh my gosh, la 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 la, I can't hear you. But here's what I want you to know, for you or anyone else that might be going through a tough time. You won't go through one of those emotions. You'll likely keep going through all of them. You might stay in one particular emotion for a bit longer than another, but you will likely travel through a lot of them. You know, things like disbelief, frustration, you might feel euphoric, you might feel happy, you might feel completely devastated. So in order to help you manage those emotions, what I want you to do is to give yourself permission to think about, or to sit with, more than think about, to sit with the emotion that you are feeling at any given time. You know, I remember having quite a devastating life experience in 2010. And one of the best pieces of advice I was given was feel however you're feeling at the time. And this is the thing with emotions. When we try and push them to one side, push them down, send them away, try to think positively, quite often we negate what's coming up for us. Our emotions are actually there to serve us with a purpose, even when they don't feel great. And if we can just sit with how we're feeling, and a lot of us worry that if we're feeling a particularly negative emotion, that we're going to sit in that emotion and not be able to come out of it, which isn't true. If we sit and just feel whatever we're feeling, it actually gives us a little insight. It gives us a little clue as to what is really going on for us. So I like feeling positive. I like being able to energize. I love those feelings more than I love the feelings of fear or frustration or anger or anything else like that. However, if I'm feeling an emotion like that and I don't sit and stay with it, I don't get my own insight into what it's really about. And that's the most powerful question you can ask yourself on any emotion, high, low, or anywhere in between. What is this really about? So if you are in a place of going through a tough time, ask yourself, like, identify the emotions that you're feeling, write them down on a piece of paper. You can always burn them or throw it away afterwards, you know, if you don't want to keep hold of it. But ask yourself, this emotion of X I'm feeling, what is this really about? Okay. And then I would say the third piece of advice that I would want to share or give. Oh, and by the way, when you've identified the emotion, what's this really about? Write it down, journal it out, tear it up afterwards if you would like to, throw it away if you'd like to. But it's really important to get it out of your body and almost out of your head, okay? The reason I think this might be helpful, but the reason why this is such an important thing to do is it's not so much the emotion we think that we feel, it's what we do with it. And it's hard to know what to do with it when it's floating around and it's in the back of our mind and we're trying to, you know, stuff in the tears, stiff upper lip, keep calm, carry on, and all of that kind of stuff. So it is a really healing process for you. And also, especially in what's been going on in the last kind of few days and you know, what's been reported for the staff at Thomas Cook, people will compare themselves in the strangest of ways. People don't just compare themselves in terms of success. People will compare themselves in, well, this person hasn't stopped crying and I feel really bad because that's not me. I want to roll my sleeves up and get on with it. Now is definitely not a time for you to compare against other people. And if you're going through your own tough time, could be members of your family, could be friends. Different people will react in different ways because of how they construct, how they you know, if you're feeling fearful, for example, I will construct fear in a completely different way than you might construct fear. So comparing ourselves to how someone else is feeling or what someone else is doing is a really useless form of exercise. It does nothing to help you move to where you need to be. So then the next, and you know, there's so many of these that I can give and that I share. The final one that I would say is stay present. If you're going through a tough time, stay present. And this, again, sounds like a weird piece of advice. What do I mean by that? Quite often, we will try to look forward and say, this could happen in the future, that could happen, this might be this thing might be about to happen. The other thing we could do is look back in the past. Now, I did reminisce about my time at Thomas Cook, but what I was very aware of when I look back, I look back at the times that I've had, at the opportunities that they gave, at the things that I appreciate and that I'm grateful for. I could have gone into a reminiscent mode and, oh my gosh, there's lots of things. My best friend in the world and I met at Thomas Cook. And what I did with that information could be, oh, well, that's it. The friendship's doomed and things aren't going to be like they are anymore. And that's putting in the drama. That's putting in the stuff that's really, really unhelpful. But what I chose it was a conscious choice, I guess, but what I chose to think about was all the opportunities, all the experiences, the people, the environment, and I chose those things. So if you are going through a tough time with the Thomas Cook scenario or anything else, health, well-being, family, friends, pets, loved ones, anything else like that, stay present. Here's how to notice when you're not staying present. When you find yourself becoming really anxious and really worried about stuff, it's likely that somewhere in your mind you're thinking about what's going to happen next, which is a very easy thing to do. How am I going to pay the bills, or how is this going to happen? The problem with that is if you're already projecting into the future, what's going to happen, where will I be, will this thing, what will happen to them? It takes you out of being present and being able to affect what you can affect right here, right now, in the present time. And, I've used the word present a few times in the last minute, and already that is now the past. So a great way to stay or bring yourself back to present and let your body be the barometer of this. And that's quite a good thing to remember, to remind you. Let your body be the barometer. At any point where you're feeling an emotion that doesn't feel great, that feels, horrible, not great to you, remember to let your body be the barometer. Okay, I'm feeling anxious, I'm not feeling great. Take a really deep breath. And here's a little breath tip I remember hearing this from a guy called David G, who was one of Deepak Chopra's meditation gurus. So anytime you find yourself feeling bad, people say just take a deep breath, take a couple of breaths. What I would invite you to do is just to breathe. Breathe, and whatever pace you're breathing, you might be breathing slowly, you might be kind of like, this is not about controlling or slowing down anything, but what this is about is just breathe and pay attention to your breath, or whatever pace it is. It will naturally harmonise, okay? It will naturally harmonise. And as that breath harmonises, then breathe, really be conscious of feeling the breath going in through your nose, and it might be coming back out through your nose or your mouth, depending on how you breathe, okay? There's no right or wrong, good or bad. But here's what I want you to do. Really pay attention to your breath. And this technique you can actually employ in the moment of the thing. Maybe someone's given you some bad news. If you can remember to do this, it will just help you to stay present with what's going on. So as you breathe in and breathe out, just kind of notice the breath as you breathe in and breathe out, maybe 3 to 5 times. And then start to notice what David G calls the space between the breath. There'll be a few seconds where you're neither breathing in or you're not breathing out. It's like the pause between the breath. Just take a few moments to notice those pauses as you notice your breath, and it will bring you back into the present moment. Now, why would you want to do that? If you can be brought back into the present moment, it will give you a sense of calm. It will give you headspace. It will give you clarity to focus on what you need right at that moment, as opposed to racing ahead and this could be happening and that could be happening. It will help you to keep your area of calm so that you can deal with the thing in front of you right there, right now. Whether it's talking to somebody else or comforting them, whether it's having a difficult conversation, whether it's being present for somebody else or some other people, and it will really bring back that sense of calm. So I'm just going to read the comments. I really hope that this in some way has been helpful. I'm not going to say this should be motivating, it should pump you up, but this will work for anything, whether you deem it big or small, good or bad. Okay, so yes, Teresa has said, yes, feeling is healing. Absolutely. Ivona says, sit and feel makes sense to me. Thank you. I'm glad it makes sense to you, and I'm glad it's something that's helpful. And great tips. Thank you so much. So, please do. The other thing that I want to say, given the situation, specifically the Thomas Cook situation, is like, I always say this, and I know this sounds a bit kind of soft and namby, but I think sometimes as a planet, we could use showing a bit more compassion to people. So I would say, however this affects you in whichever ways, even if it's a number of ways, show compassion first and foremost to yourself. Feeling guilty, beating yourself up about it is not a useful way to show compassion to yourself. Show compassion to others and what they might be going through. I've seen some comments where people are talking about specific companies and, oh, well, I didn't like working for them, I'm glad this has happened. There are people involved. This is not about a company. A company's full of people. They have passengers. They have people on the board that's had to make some really difficult decisions. They've got members of staff who are scared, fearful, heartbroken. Don't add to that fear. Look through a lens of love. Look through a lens of empathy. Look through a lens of compassion. And even if it's just sending somebody a message that might be affected by this or by anything else, and let them know you're there, you care, you've got their back. I don't know how to help, but I wanted you to know that I'm thinking of you. Those kinds of things are probably the most helpful things that you can say. And just take care not to be pulled into the drama that will definitely be surrounding that or any other situation or tough time that you might be going through. I hope this was helpful. And more so than any other Monday, I'd really love you to share this Monday message in the hope that it will give somebody almost like a crack of light through any darkness that they might be going through. Thank you so much, for watching. If you've got any kind of positive messages or anything that you can really help anybody else with, please feel free to type them in the comments below so that people can see. If you would like to continue the conversation, or you or your families have been affected by anything that you've heard here today, then by all means we do have the Visibility Vibes Tribe, which is the Facebook group, a closed Facebook group, so only you and the other people in the group can see what's posted in there. Please feel free to type any comments. Use the hashtag Monday Motivation so I can find them. They don't always pop up on my timeline. So today, throughout the day, between my coaching calls, I will go in and I will search specifically for them. So thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for your support as always. Please share this with people, preferably on your timeline actually, because you never know who of your family or friends might be affected in some way. And have the most beautiful Monday. Use these tips as and when you need them. You can't wear them out. Lots of love to you. Bye for now.